Around this time is when I first noticed that my hands were numb. I was holding my own legs back when I was pushing, and nobody really seemed alarmed when I started complaining about my hands being numb. They said, it's because you're tensing them, you need to slow down your breathing. It's really common at this point for people to have numbness. So anyway, that's when it started. It continues to this day, but that's around the time I started noticing it. All throughout this whole time, up until now, up until birth, really, the baby's heartbeat was perfectly fine. The baby never showed any signs of distress, which was really great. It would have been a totally different story if she had started to show distress. But she seemed fine. I was the one sort of struggling, but she was great throughout. Okay, so around 4 in the morning, this is Sunday morning, June 26th, I finally started having productive pushes. I don't know if it was I was having different sensations, or it was just that I was so motivated at that time to really just get the baby out. But I finally started making progress, and I had a series of maybe a half dozen really good sets of pushes, and we were really, the head was really getting there, and we were getting close to crowning. But at that point, we could tell that the baby's chin was extended, so the sort of wider length of her head, sort of the diagonal, was what was coming through. And at that point, there was no way to get her to bring her chin back down. So what we were looking at was this distance having to pass through instead of just this part. So it was a much bigger diameter or whatever to have to pass through my vagina. So at that point, I had started to tear. I wasn't too concerned about it. I was just so excited to be finally making progress and seeing the head, get closer and closer every time, and getting really excited for her to finally come out. But I did notice tearing, and our midwife was trying to stretch the tissues and help me out, and it just wasn't happening. The decision was made to do an episiotomy. I ended up not feeling a thing. Our midwife did it with the next contraction, and I saw it happen, but I honestly didn't feel anything. And with the next push, the baby's head was out, and then I really didn't care. And with the next push came the shoulders, and she was totally out. We were totally amazed that she was a girl. I just couldn't believe it. Everybody except my parents had thought she was going to be a boy. Except for a few YouTubers, I know that. But really, that's what we had prepared for. I mean, the past several weeks, Mike and I had really only talked about boy names. We both had a really strong feeling. And we were all wrong. Our midwife was wrong too. Everybody guessed wrong. So out came Alice. She didn't have a name for a while because of that. But there was a little bit of meconium in the fluid after her body came out. So I don't think that it was up by her face. I think it was really just behind her and maybe, squeezed out as her body was passing through. But I do remember that being said. So her Apgar scores were 9 and 9, but her hands were blue. That was where she lost the point. So because of that, our midwife did not wait until the cord stopped pulsating to cut it. Mike cut it, but pretty quickly to be able to sort of check the baby and make sure things were okay. We did skin to skin right away, and she breastfed for a few minutes. Mike held her. What I remember saying, I just couldn't believe it was a girl, but when I was holding her, when I saw her immediately, I just kept saying, she's so sweet, she's so sweet. That's all that could come to mind. She just looked like just the sweetest baby I'd ever seen. And I was also really surprised that she looked like me. She looked like baby pictures and newborn pictures of me, and that was really strange. I thought that whoever this child was going to look like Mike from the beginning. Most babies, I think, look like their dads. So I was really shocked to sort of have that recognition of she was mine. I just didn't expect it. So while we were having this little bit of bonding with the baby, the placenta was delivered. I didn't feel anything. I saw it come out, but I honestly was just on autopilot. I don't know if they told me to push or whatever. I had other things going on. The nurses were massaging my uterus, which was uncomfortable. I had been warned about it, but it wasn't pleasant. It wasn't excruciating, but I noticed it. It got my attention, and then I got a bunch of stitches, of course. So, and I felt those. I just all through that, I just was so elated. I really wasn't feeling anything from sort of the chest down. I was holding her, and I had her up here with me, and I was holding Mike's hand, and everything from sort of the chest up was great. Everything below me, my legs were in some crazy position for like a half an hour because I just couldn't move a single muscle. My muscles were so spent, but it didn't matter. I was just so happy that I did it, and she was there. So after that, about 20-30 minutes of being together, they took the baby to the nursery for observation, which they do with all babies. I really fought hard to find some way around that, but there just wasn't any. It's hospital policy. Our midwife couldn't do anything about it. We couldn't do anything about it. So we knew that was going to happen. So they went and took her to the nursery. Mike walked with her, but wasn't able to go in. And then they started prepping me to transfer to the mother baby unit and just, get everything cleaned up. And we had to do a little bit of paperwork. I got to the mother baby unit and was waiting for the baby. Usually it takes 30 minutes for them to bring you the baby. And she just wasn't coming, and I just kept asking the nurses why. And then we started hearing that she was having low temperatures, and that she had to stay in the nursery, she was still under observation, and that they were concerned about infection. The rest of that story will be a separate video. I want to talk about sort of where things went from that point and into that whole week of her stay in the NICU. That'll be the next video. But in terms of labor,